Forget the old world of physical cash. Forget the leather wallet, the metal coins, the worn-out bills passed hand to hand, untraceable. Because a financial transition is underway that won't just change how you spend money, will change whether you can spend it. For millennia, money was an anonymous tool of exchange, a neutral intermediary between you and the goods you desired. But that era is ending. Quietly, governments and central banks around the world are laying the groundwork for central bank digital currencies or CBDCs. They sell this concept as convenience and modernity, a necessary evolution. But behind the smooth digital interface lies a fundamental shift in the very nature of liberty. The financial system is being re-engineered, not for efficiency, but for absolute compliance. In this new world, you won't need a bank account to be broke just one wrong opinion. Imagine your money suddenly expiring because you didn't spend it on the right things. Imagine the government disapproving of your political donation, or even your purchase of certain types of fuel, and the money simply fails to transfer. This is the end game of control. It's called the digital prison, and we are already building the walls. There is a pattern in history that shows us what happens when the state gains total power over your spending. And this time, with digital money, the control will be total. The central concept we must understand is the difference between physical cash and a central bank digital currency. Today, the money in your bank account is technically a liability of a commercial bank. You have a legal right to withdraw it as cash, physical, anonymous, fungible banknotes. Cash acts as the escape hatch from the system, but a CBDC is fundamentally different. It is a direct liability of the central bank. It is programmable, traceable, and, critically, it can be conditional. Think of it not as digital cash, but as conditional code. This is why it matters. Advocates frame CBDCs as a magic bullet against tax evasion, money laundering, and inefficiency. And yes, digital payments are convenient, but this convenience comes with a catastrophic cost: the loss of financial sovereignty. When cash vanishes, the state removes the only way to conduct a truly private, untraceable transaction. Every purchase, every donation, every attempt to save or invest is recorded, analyzed, and most terrifyingly can be blocked. It is an architecture designed for surveillance first and convenience second. The transition from money as a right to money as a privilege is the central theme of the digital prison. History shows us that every time the tool of money is centralized, individual liberty collapses shortly after. We are about to explore 3 different moments in history, from Cold War economies to modern Asias, that all illustrate this terrifying pattern. Let's see how it played out and where we are in the sequence. The Soviet Union, for decades, operated the ultimate centralized economy. Their control wasn't enforced by border guards alone. It was enforced by the ruble. The system started with the promise of equality and stability. The state became the sole distributor, and the ruble became the accounting token for all resources. It was programmable money, not by code, but by political decree. Case 1. The Soviet Ruble and the illusion of wealth in the Soviet state. The government determined what you could buy and where you could buy it. The ruble was non-convertible internationally and often non-convertible internally, meaning money earned in one sector couldn't necessarily buy goods in another. This wasn't a digital restriction, but a brutal logistical one. The government's mistake was thinking it could control human desire with accounting. Despite the official price, queues formed for basic goods like meat, clothing, and cars. The value of the ruble became an illusion, only useful for paying official bills. A vast black market, operating on actual supply and demand, emerged, using foreign currency and bartering. The Soviet state controlled where your money went, but they failed to control the human desire for freedom and real value. Case 2. India's demonetization, the power to press the kill switch. A more recent and chilling example came from India in 2016. In a sudden, shocking move, the government declared 86% of the currency in circulation, the 2 highest denominations, void. Overnight, the vast majority of physical cash became useless paper. The official goal was noble: to fight black money or undeclared wealth. But the consequence was a brutal, instant financial lockdown. Millions of people, particularly the rural poor who rely entirely on cash and lack bank accounts, were financially paralyzed. Farmers couldn't buy seeds. Fishermen couldn't sell their catch. This event wasn't about CBDC, but it proved a crucial, terrifying point. When physical cash is the primary medium, and a government can unilaterally and instantly void it, it demonstrates the absolute power of the state to shut down economic life. It showed the world just how fast an absolute financial lockdown can happen when the paper money vanishes. Case 3. China's social credit system, the ultimate control grid. The closest model to the digital prison operates today in China. They pioneered mobile payments, with WeChat and Alipay becoming essential for daily life. But this digital convenience was quickly integrated with the state's political goals. The government began turning transaction data into a key component of the social credit system. Suddenly, your financial history wasn't just about debt, it was about political and social compliance. Buying too much alcohol or playing video games too often can lower your score. A low score can lead to severe financial and social penalties, being barred from buying plane or train tickets, or having your children refused entry into top schools. China is proof that when money is purely digital and transaction data is linked to government mandate, it becomes a potent weapon of social compliance. And they all made the same mistake. The same one that Western nations are preparing to make right now. The progression toward a total control grid is not random. Every empire and system that centralizes financial power follows the same 5 predictable stages. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Stage 1. The convenience trap. The initial phase focuses on promoting payment innovation. Governments, tech giants, and commercial banks heavily incentivize cashless payments, contactless cards, mobile apps as the modern solution. Cash is subtly framed as dirty, inconvenient, and outdated, reducing its cultural acceptance. Stage 2. The security mandate. Governments weaponize crime narratives. They use the fight against money laundering, drug cartels, and terrorism to justify the legal framework for eliminating physical cash and requiring absolute identification for all transactions. This stage establishes the principle of total financial surveillance. Stage 3. The programmable money. The CBDC is formally introduced. This currency is not merely traceable. It is conditional. The technology allows for features like expiration dates on savings, limits on what goods can be bought, for example, preventing the purchase of carbon-intensive products, or the imposition of deeply negative interest rates. It turns money into a political tool. Stage 4. The exclusion grid. The system is used to enforce social compliance. Following a political or social crisis, such as a pandemic or a major protest, the government uses its power to switch off non-compliant citizens. The state can deny access to funds or freeze a person's ability to participate in the economy based on their political or social behavior. This is the moment when the digital architecture becomes a form of political censorship. Stage 5. Total compliance. With cash eliminated, there is no financial sanctuary. The state has a perfect real-time ledger of every exchange. All economic resistance and private life are eradicated. The government's power is now absolute and enforced not by military force, but by the ability to delete your financial existence. Once you enter Stage 3, there is no easy path back. And right now, across the G7 nations, we are debating the final steps of Stage 2. If we hold the historical pattern up to the world today, the mirror moment is chillingly clear. We are already deeply embedded in Stage 1, the convenience trap. From London to New York, major cities are approaching 90% cashless payment rates. The pandemic accelerated this by framing cash as a potential biological risk. We are now actively completing Stage 2, the security mandate. The push for KYC, Know Your Customer, and AML anti-money laundering rules has extended to virtually every corner of finance, including small crypto exchanges and even local cash businesses. The justification is always security, but the result is total surveillance. This is immediately followed by the CBDC experimentation, which is stage 3, the programmable money. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of England are all running advanced pilot programs. They are testing the feasibility of digital currency. But the technology is not neutral. Its core feature is the ability to program conditions that allows governments to solve their greatest financial dilemma: how to enforce deeply negative interest rates to encourage spending and reduce the value of their crippling national debt. Physical cash makes negative rates impossible. CBDC makes them mandatory. We saw a chilling preview of Stage 4, the exclusion grid, during the Canadian Freedom Convoy protests. Without a CBDC, the government still demonstrated the power to cut protesters off from their bank accounts, disabling their ability to buy gas or food using the existing banking system. Imagine how seamlessly this could be done with money issued directly by the central bank. The ancient Roman emperors debased their coinage by replacing silver with cheaper metals. That was debasement by dilution. Today, the world's most powerful governments are preparing to implement debasement by digital control. This time, the devaluation will come not just from inflation, but from the conditional nature of the money itself. Stage 1, check. Stage 2, check. Stage 3 is entering pilot phase. The point of no return is in sight. If the historical pattern holds in history is rarely wrong on the nature of centralized power, the consequences of entering the digital prison are staggering. Imagine a world where the power to exist financially is granted to you, not owned by you. The state will not need to impose harsh, visible punishments. It won't need police to enforce compliance. It will simply need to adjust the code. Political dissent, even simple differences of opinion, can become a financial offense. A citizen who speaks against the ruling policy could suddenly find their spending allowance reduced, or their ability to buy certain goods like air travel or fuel revoked. The individual is not in jail, but they are trapped within a financial cage. When empires fall, the initial decline is slow, built on financial overreach. But the end is always sudden, brutal, and final. The collapse of freedom will not be announced with a declaration of martial law. It will happen the moment the last paper note is removed from circulation, and the government gains the ability to shut off your economic life with a keystroke. The most effective prison is not made of steel bars. It's made of code that can be rewritten at any moment. Maybe this time we will change, but history says otherwise. The only defense against programmable money is to refuse its programming. Money is not merely a means of exchange. It is the ultimate symbol of individual liberty, the economic power to make private choices. When we surrender the anonymous nature of cash, we are surrendering that freedom. We are accepting a future where our spending is a privilege, not a right. The pattern is clear. Control, once gained, is never relinquished voluntarily. It is not the currency itself that is the threat. It is the absolute control that lies behind the code. When money becomes code, control becomes total. If you want to understand the economics of power and control, and how global forces reshape your personal freedom, make sure to like and subscribe to us. And let me know in the comments, would you ever give up physical cash entirely?